Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for making time to log on and listen more about emotional intelligence. My name is Joan Pinto, and I have been in this field for the past 16 years. Emotional intelligence has personally helped me to connect to myself, family, friends, and colleagues in a satisfying way. I'm immensely grateful to my family and friends for their continued support and to CII webinar for this opportunity. Though you and I cannot see each other, this again is a relationship, and I would like to connect with you the best way I can. So here are a few tips to make this talk interesting and worthwhile. There is no wrong or right way. This is a learning process. When I talk or you see a slide, you are invited to observe your thoughts and feelings. We respect each other's opinions, so feel free to query after the talk, and I will try my best to answer your questions. Enjoy and have fun. You know more than you think. Right now, I'd like to share this beautiful song with you. I'd like you to listen in. I'm sorry, I think the song is not working. So we continue though with the next part, and the next thing is in the song it was finding out who you are. Life is easy, life is beautiful, and yes, who are you? You are a miracle. You are a miracle of joy, of love, of peace, of creativity. And uh, most of the time, our mind is constantly racing with the next thing. So we forget to be and to understand where we are. I am a miracle. I'm made in the image and likeness of God Himself. The real me is beautiful. The real me is made up of love, peace, happiness, positivity, knowledge, wisdom. The, the inner strength is the ability to bounce back to my real self when the storms of everyday living subside. There is a flourishing, a sense of growth. There is a deep knowing of what I'm looking for is within me. The real me attracts good in my life. However, on an everyday basis, you have to regularly battle with your false self or your everyday self, which is made up of introjects. And introjects are what occur when, as a child, you internalize the beliefs of the elders around you. Imagine a baby, a sponge, soaking in what everybody thinks about him or her. The false self is like a chain and an iron cage of our thoughts and our belief system. The everyday self is battling with false beliefs. The everyday self is on a daily basis, lives in unawareness, and only awareness can bring us back to our real self that is peaceful and positive. How do we catch yourself? Whenever your negative feelings and reactive behavior, it shows to you that your false self or your everyday self is in control, especially in crisis or when there is change. External control over people and situation characterizes a person with everyday self. For example, when you're growing up, when a child falls, the child usually will get up. But if the child is surrounded by adults, the parents try to create a sense of stopping the tears. They'll not allow the child to cry. They will go and say, oh, I'll beat the table. And they will point fingers. So what does the child learn here? Not to be with his feelings or her feelings. The child learns anger. The child learns to beat the table. The child learns to play the blame game. I'm not responsible. I am blaming you rather than get up, stand up and walk. You can do it. Similarly, when a child is hungry, we insist on feeding the child. And rather than following what the child knows, for example, if a child is ill, he will refuse to drink milk or certain types of food because that is coming from the inner wisdom. However, as a mother, I myself would force my kids to have their regular rice and curry because I felt that is food and not the fruit which my child insisted on. So this is my belief about food, which I enforced upon my child. And so in this way, we, the adult world, create a sense of what is right or wrong, what has to be or not to be with the children. Now, this everyday self of ours creates in us non-stop thinking, which is like an internal radio. And even if you go about your work on an everyday basis, you're constantly hearing these voices from the interjects that have come up in your life. So the everyday self has heard so many voices that are recorded in your brain. So though we assign and say people and events trigger our negative thoughts, actually you and I at this age, when we are grown up, are triggering it for ourselves. For this is done with unawareness. And how do we know when we are going into that internal radio? Is when you physiologically feel comfort level, that means your thoughts are good thoughts, or if you're feeling uncomfortable, your thoughts are negative thoughts. So if all you can do now is be aware of yourself as a video camera. So you learn to observe and record without the emotions. So right now I'm giving you the role of a video camera person to observe your thoughts and feelings. So usually what happens to us on a daily basis is we become actors and we join into that drama rather than stepping out and video filming. So right through this, I'd like you to understand what is happening to you, what thoughts you're creating, what feelings you're creating. Are you creating, am I understanding this? What thoughts you're creating right now, I'd like you to be aware of. The non-stop internal radio creates emotions. So if the thoughts are positive, the feelings will be positive. So you have a smiley there. But if your thoughts are negative, and of course created by you, you will have anger, hurt, jealousy, need for attention, regret, frustration. However, these are signals that something you have not understood and given cognizance to yourself. So the one nice thing to do is to learn to appreciate the feeling, learning to recognize it and learn to label it, because that itself is going to tell you why it is happening to you, why that has been created by you. People and events project the world back to you, and it means that somewhere it is something you need to look into. For example, somebody says, calls you some names, you feel a sense of hurt, and that is valid. But however, if you don't acknowledge it, it will not be addressed. It will not be addressed. So rather than pushing down your hurt, address it and say, okay, I'm hurt because somebody called me this name. However, your reminder today is to remind yourself that your real self is love, not the label that somebody gave you, not the label. Now, if you will not address your hurt at that point of time, your hurt can change into anger. And from anger, if not addressed, can change into depression. That is why whenever you're angry, after some time, you feel physically exhausted, physically tired, and your mind doesn't work. So when you are aware, okay, I'm angry because of this situation, I'm angry for being taken for granted, and with your awareness, you're able to label, recognize, and pinpoint. It is a good awareness which helps you move to the present, come back to the present and be positive. Now, one of the things is why we have low emotional intelligence is because our school system continuously teaches us to only value intelligence, value the mind, value logic, value science. The heart is never given importance. So if you find, usually in my experience working with people, working with couples, I found that when the behaviors, for example, are aggressive, demanding, bossy, it's the need of the person is to be loved and cared for. The need of the person is to be, so we are not looking at the emotion, we are looking at the behavior. So when you understand the behavior of the anger, why the person is aggressive, you'll understand that maybe that person needs to be connected to, is not able to connect to himself or to others. So we have a low emotional intelligence. The person's outward behavior would be aggressive, demanding, bossy, confrontational, always picking up a fight. Yet and a person on the other hand who has a high emotional intelligence is operating from his peaceful and positive self, will be assertive, is able to tell somebody, you know, right now I am upset, or right now I am not able to give you time, or right now I find that you have not asked my permission for doing something. So in a peaceful and positive way, you're able to tell. So there's no need for anger. You can do it in peace. So a high emotional intelligence person is able to convey, is able to understand himself, herself, and also speak what is the need to speak. Now, when a person has low emotional intelligence, the person the mind gets distracted because you're continuously keeping the feelings in your system, and you're not addressing it, you're not aware of it. So you tend to be impulsive and a poor listener, and you jump to conclusions. Whereas a person with high emotional intelligence is warm, enthusiastic, sociable, charming, persuasive. Now, very often in a school or in a workspace, the manager would find that people resistant to change, unresponsive, slow, stubborn. We have heard these labels very often. But this is because somebody may be angry or maybe depressed, and is unable to understand himself or herself. But when a person is able to understand himself or herself, There is a sense of peace and calm which keeps you stable, so your behavior doesn't have an up and a down. It is more or less stable, and the behavior patterns are consistent, and the person is a good listener. We find people with low emotional intelligence usually, this is why we have a problem in workspaces or in schools where children are picky, fussy, but the child may be upset over something, or or your colleague or your staff may not be able, may be picky, fussy because has not been acknowledged for his work. So the feeling of rejection, anger, hurt. So if you address that emotion very often as a uh, as a manager, as a teacher, as a parent, you'll find you'll be able to get the person to listen, to work better, to also give his best in the office. Now, if we do not acknowledge, if we do not recognize, if we do not speak, able to pinpoint that you're feeling upset, you're feeling angry because so and so reason, at least for your own personal understanding, very often the messages are stored in your cells in the body, and every emotion is energy. Emotion, it's energy in motion, whether it's positive or negative. It is energy in motion and is stored in your body. And so very often vibrations like anger and fear make us shake so much because and what happens is it radiates outwards. You usually find a person who's angry won't have people coming close to him, or and if you're friendly and open, you will find people coming, moving closer to you, interested in you, coming, wanting to make friends with you, and that is because uh, emotions are energy in motion. It's either a good energy or it's a not so good, bad energy. Now, emotions that we are not aware of usually tend to get lodged in your body and gives us a message. For example, it's like, it is like bagging your garbage without separating it. The minute you're able to say, okay, I'm sad or I'm angry, I'm hurt because of so and so reason, you'll find that uh, the negative energy is giving you a thing to take care of yourself, to open out your heart and can return to your peaceful self. For example, if you have a migraine, or a headache when you have a project coming up, you are already telling yourself you're incapable, but actually you're capable. So as soon as you remind yourself you're capable and you're doing it with ease and you're doing it with grace, you'll find that you're able to, you don't need a tablet to cure your headache. Similarly, a sore throat would be because of fear of speaking up. And if you tell yourself, okay, I'm able to speak up, this person is another human being, I can handle him or her, you are on the right path. You are able to address your feeling, recognize it, pinpoint the content, why it is happening to you, and you're able to help yourself. You do not need to dump it in your body. Very often, today I hope you will go back and you'll be able to pinpoint in your body, okay, I think this neck ache or this backache or this shoulder ache is because I have maybe I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling anxious. For me, for example, when I was preparing for this webinar, I had a sense of feeling of anxiety. But once I told myself I've given these talks before and I can do it yet again, I was comfortable and I returned to my peaceful state again. So basically, pinpointing and understanding your feelings is able to bring you back to your real self. Emotions are contagious, and this is what the studies by Richard Boyatzis has shown us, that it is energy in motion, again, like we spoke earlier. It is also a connection between the neurological, it's like a neurological exchange between people. So even if it's not spoken, it is transmitted between people and groups. especially if you're in a state of unawareness. Suppose somebody is angry and if you're in a state of unawareness, you can pick that feeling. If you're in a state of unawareness and if somebody is sad, you can come home feeling sad. Or if you're upset about, if you see your friend upset, you can come home with that feeling if you're in a state of unawareness. But if you're in a state of awareness, you can say, okay, this, my friend has been angry and upset because this is the thing. This is the reason why this is the she had did a badly in her exams or something happened to her in her relationship. You are able to separate and understand, give your listening ear. Otherwise, you and your friend will both be in a loop and would be sinking down together rather than helping each other up. So it's very important to know how to handle yourself before you go to listen to others. Another thing is emotions happen very, very fast. They are unconscious, and it is very important in building relationships and leadership. One of the things which helps in schools to have a teacher listening, getting students to listen, or leaders getting their people to listen is good ability to transmit this emotions of positivity. And this helps in building a team and bonding a family. Just as you see this storm, picture of the storm, and we are equipped. However, we don't use our equipment to manage well. But the body is always equipped to handle the storms in our life. So after the anger, we will always have peace. And after trials and tribulation, there's always a calm because all of us have some amount of skills to handle them. How do we learn more and how do we handle it in a more organized way would be going back to the 4 domains of emotional intelligence. The first one being self-awareness, second one being learning how to manage yourself, the third one being social awareness, and the fourth being relationship management. Coming to the first domain of self-awareness, you can see this picture. We are good, we are peace, we are love. Yet, when we see ourselves, we speak of ourselves, very often we keep telling ourselves we are not good enough or we are not worth it. Or if we make a small mistake, that tends to bring you back to your I'm not good enough. I'm not. So the first thing we are going to do today is separate your real self from your words. You are not the words that you speak or the actions that you do, even if they are a mistake. You are not your mind or the negative thoughts, but you are good, you are peaceful, you are love. Now, coming to self-awareness again, very often we have different levels of self-awareness. Before I took my course in process work, I had this sense of being constantly in a level of where I only felt life was a problem, it was a struggle, and there were obstacles. And continuously I felt there's no need to try at anything. And my answers were limited. I didn't know where to start. There was lots of fear, confusion. I seemed like I was trapped in a problem. The connections where I spoke to people were very superficial. And I was not able to speak up and say what I needed to say. So it was resultant anger, anxiety, boredom, and the behavior became pattern behavior. So this is a state of unawareness, total unawareness. Now once you start understanding yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, you start finding solutions. Okay, maybe I'll try this way, I'll try that way, I'll listen to this person, I'll take this from this person. So soon after I did my process work, I started following and understanding the patterns of my thoughts and feelings. I found the struggle lessening. I found solution beginning to appear. The obstacles were being overcome. I could face the negative energies. I was able to move forward the way I liked, and I found people connecting to me much more. But now I find that as more and more in this work, I am what is called the pure awareness is where I look at difficulties as and problems not as problems and blocks anymore, but rather as challenges and as an opportunity to creatively find another way to do something. At this stage, you find that you are more, your inner and outer selves are integrated. You don't need to separate yourself, put on a mask. You find that you are able to benefit yourself, society. You feel safe. You are at home in the universe. You view the world with compassion and understanding. There is a flow and a sense of ease. You become kind and soft with yourself. Now, most of the time, we have to remember is whatever we see, perception is the way we see life, the way we see people or things, is colored by the way we have thought and felt about that situation. So, if the demands on ourselves are very high, when we put shoulds and musts and and throw a rule book at ourselves and others, most of the time we find that we are pressurizing ourselves and we create irrational feelings. The mood states also influence the way, for example, if the teacher is upset or irritated, her mood state will, the way she perceives the child's exam or answer sheet will be, the grading will be according to the way she sees the child, the way she feels, and that's the way she grades the child, maybe less. Now, all this data that we have, your thought, your feeling, gives you an insight into understanding the situation and what is going to come from that. The minute you label your feeling, you are able to understand much better the situation and act that it is actually your own creation. For example, the other day a woman threw a bag of garbage and has been dumping garbage in front of my gate, and I have not been able to pinpoint or had this, but I have been having to clean up after her. So this has created a sense of irritation and anger in me. But how do I handle that situation? How do I tell her in a nice way? So when I saw her dumping the bag in front of my gate, I went up to her and explained to her that if you're dumping it in front of my house, I am also affected. I have to do the cleaning, and that is upsetting me. Of course, we went on communicating, but I think it was quite a peaceful way I communicated, and I feel good that I was able to face it, tell her, and not shy away from. So and that's left me feeling good. So when we speak up, we tend to feel good because it is a skill of handling whatever problem and difficulty you have. The tiny seed is, even if now you feel a sense of awareness, that awareness is learning to be with that thought and feeling, is what you require with your feeling each time, and you require and practice. So in my work with kids or in my work in counseling, the main thing we learn to do is give that person a space to speak up so that person learns to handle his or her feelings. So awareness needs time, reflection, so that it can be practiced and become a way of life. Emotions have to go through a process. So very often when we push it, say, no, 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 you can't feel hurt, you can't feel angry, it's not okay, you are pushing it into your system again. So very often the emotions have to go through a process so that all we can do is observe and befriend them and able to understand ourselves better. If you have lost someone and you're sad, it is okay to be sad. It's okay to cry. It's okay to understand that pain at the loss. If your friend has moved away and you feel a sense of jealousy, it is okay. And it's okay to address it and be aware of it. If someone has spoken rudely to you and you feel hurt, be aware that you feel hurt because somebody has spoken rudely to you. So this awareness on a regular basis will help you to understand yourself better. The second domain of emotional intelligence is self-management. Develop skills for breathing, relaxing, reflecting, self-affirming, and learn how to affirm yourself again and again. Learn how to soothe yourself when stressed out. Learn how to motivate yourself and keep yourself in good physical health by exercising and uh, doing things what you like. If you like dancing, you don't have to go to the gym. You can go for a walk. You can go for dance classes. How do you manage your thoughts? How do you place your thoughts? How do I find out where I am in my feeling world? If I'm in the present, I'm positive, peaceful, loveful, and from the present, I do my work, I go about my everyday life, then it's very easy, there is ease. But if I'm in the future or in the past, I'm creating stress for myself, in my thoughts, and in my feelings. If you look at the sand clock, every grain of sand which is in the future, every grain has to come to the present and then move to the past. So when your emotions are in the future, you will feel a sense of anxiety, fear, you will feel a sense of panic, you will feel a sense of worry. So these will tell you that you are in the future. If you're in the past, you feel a sense of sadness, you feel a sense of regret, anger, hurt. Bringing up the past can also, some of the bringing up your past can give you bring up your feelings of hurt and the past incidents can bring it. The only moment so how do you manage this if it keeps coming up, the issue that has not been dealt with? How do you manage it? You tell yourself, right now I'm in the present, I'm sitting or I'm working, I'm eating. So you bring yourself to the present. When you're in the past and you're going on and on about the thing, it is hurting you more than anybody else. Imagine putting a hot coal on your palm. What would you do? You just throw it off because the only person getting hurt is you. So science shows us that the effect of keeping grudges and being unforgiving is bad for our own health. So now one of the reasons why we tend to go on to holding on to negative emotions is because it is so strong. So it is strong, so we tend to focus more on that. Suppose there are children in the class and there is a good child, some children are good. Children, our normal tendency is to focus on the child who is running around, but we will not focus on the child who is good. So this is the normal old style of working with kids or with people, is focusing on the negative attention, negative behavior rather than on the person who is giving you a good behavior. So similarly, our emotions, because they are so strong, we tend to go on talking about it, which only reinforces and makes it stronger. And that is with anger. You ventilate, you go on talking, and you tend to try and throw it out of your system by talking, but it doesn't work that way. It reinforces and makes it stronger. And rumination is in the case of sadness, you become moody or you're silent, your behavior is silent, you are withdrawn. But if you know that you're sad, you can get up and do something about it. You can get up and move out, change your thought. You can. So once you're aware, you know what to do. But if you're not aware and you're following this pattern, it's time for you to be aware. And there's the third type of people who's explosive. They start screaming, shouting, throwing tantrums, and are not able to manage a job or manage relationships because of their need to dump the garbage, dump their anger onto somebody else rather than managing it in a peaceful way. So if you have seen, if you're in the only moment is now, the only moment is peace. for you to remember that you are loved, that you are joy, that you are capable of handling things, that you are capable of managing. And this itself will open you up and give you more skills to handle what you need to handle. One way for you, if you are ventilating, illuminating, explosive, is to gently tell yourself to stop. Say your name and tell yourself, Anita, stop now. Take a breath, come back to the present, and come back to your peaceful self, come back to your positive self. Let's do it together. Take a breath, breathe, and peace, and positive, breathe out. Take another breath, breathe in, and peace, and positive, breathe out. Another way for you to remember, so let us continue with the breathing exercise. Is breathe, breathe in, inhale slowly, hold, exhale. And remind yourself, one way of bringing yourself back to the present is to say, right now I breathe in. Right now I breathe out. Breathing in, I'm aware of my body. Breathing out, I calm my body. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I enjoy the present moment. Yet another way of handling is to retrain your brain. Whenever you feel that non-stop voice going on in your head, one thing you can do is tell yourself, like the red signals when you have traffic, when the traffic is going, your mind is like the traffic, continuous. So create a red button in your mind and tell yourself, stop. Stop the negative thought, change the negative thought, and make the thought positive. If you have a thought, I can't do, it's too difficult, change it. I'm able, I'm capable, I have done this before. It's one of the examples. You can try that with various other things. Sometimes it's with people, sometimes it's with situations. So one way would be learning to retrain your brain. Very often the language we speak also creates a change in our thoughts. If your language is hard, the way you create pressure on yourself, like you create a must, should, have to, and not in your sentence. You place a demand on yourself and you place a demand on others and the environment. You may say, I must do well in my exams or else I'm worthless. But this demand causes anxiety and depression, and you feel upset if you don't do well. The demand on others is if somebody, they must treat me well, or else they're not worth being my friend. Or the world, if the world is a difficult place, it's not worth living in this world. However, a little change in the way you use your language, the way you speak up in a positive way, you could say, I would prefer to do well and get approval. But even if I fail, I will accept myself. Even if my friends are not kind to me and don't talk to me lovingly and reasonably the way I expect, I know that that is their style, and I know that that's their way, but they still do care about me, and that's their way of talking or doing, and I cannot control them. I would prefer this, but if it's not given, I can still have friends. If I third preference would be that life is fair and should not have any difficulties. Life should be very easy, but it's not always possible. And I know that although life is frustrating, I can considerably enjoy life, and I have the skills of managing pretty well. Another way is to affirm yourself. Affirmations are basically sentences which are reframed in the positive. But before that, you need to understand where your belief is coming from. Otherwise, it will just be sugarcoating the sentence. So be aware of the feeling if the belief, the negative belief has for you, and then work through it. So in childhood, if you're told and you have seen people angry and you have been on the receiving end of the anger of your adults in your life, you are bound to be afraid of anger. But today you are old enough and you can tell yourself, I know that I can express my anger in peace. I know that I can handle myself in peace. I do not need to use my hands and legs or throw things around when I'm angry. So here you yourself are evolving from what you have seen and what you have learned from your adults. You are learning to change the way you have been brought up with so that your relationships are better. But we usually do when we have children, we do with them what we have learned. However, we can change, and I've seen people changing. I myself have changed with just understanding that this is anger and I can speak up. For very long, I used to keep anger within and not speak up. So I would ruminate and it would cause me silent spells for about a month. And then with awareness, it started getting shorter. And today I bounce back. If I feel angry, I am able to pinpoint and I'm able to bounce back to my peaceful self very quickly. One way you can help yourself is also appreciate yourself by not comparing yourself with others. Very often, if somebody is managing himself pretty well or his behavior is sweeter and is more polite, you tend to compare yourself. You, appreciate you the way you are. Think about the times when you have done something good. Do something you like. Mistakes are okay. Learn from it and take pride in your strengths, your talents, your potential. So remember, the most important thing about people is not what we are like inside and not what we own or what we accomplish. When we focus on with positivity on ourselves, we just as we have negative emotions, we have positive emotions. However, we don't give any cognizance to our positive emotions because we are so busy sorting out the negative emotions. If we focus more on our positive emotions, you'll find that you are positive majority of the time. Out of 24 hours, maybe for 10 minutes you lost your temper and you in the next few minutes you tend to come back to your positives. So even so our true nature is positive, our true nature is peaceful, and in the peaceful senses we can do a lot, we can learn a lot about ourselves. Now, one of the things is for me, this webinar, although I give talks to parents and I give talks quite often, it was something different. So it has interested me. So with the interest, I have been able to look at different ways of working with it. So it created in me a hope, okay, I'm going to do something better, I'm doing something nicer. And with pride is a sense of pride means I'm learning how to operate. I'm learning different things, how to get an online, with the course online. So a sense of pride that I've done something differently. Amusement is when you make silly mistakes rather than taking it so seriously. Look at it with a little bit of fun. It creates so much of change. Very often there are many people in our lives, or elders. Usually we tend to look at what we don't like. If you look at what you like in them, you will find that there's lots to inspire you. And if we look at the world around us, if you look at your body itself, if you look at yourself, you are an awesome person. Your whole body is working without your breathing. Your body is working without. It's such an awesome thing. Your body works without you having to give it instructions. The sun rises, the sun sets. All this is awesome. Love is something which you feel continuously for everybody in your home. Otherwise, you will have a sense of heaviness in us. Joy is when you do, and the result of ways you feel a sense of contentment, joy, and gratitude is when you count all the blessings you have in your life. Now, when you have these positive emotions, they tend to lift you and enlighten you. It makes you feel good. Usually, most of these emotions are felt through the day. However, it's like the air we breathe, it's taken for granted. Positive emotions are inherited. When you see a baby, what happens to you? You feel a sense of love. You want to go and cuddle it. Why? Because the positive emotions are inherited. Because you feel an automatic, because the baby is love, you feel love, you automatically want to cuddle it. But yeah. So, and another thing is it helps you to multitask. You can do more than one thing and in a peaceful way if you're positive. It also helps you to broaden your action repertoires and builds resourcefulness and your inner resilience, the strength of your ability to bounce back when you have difficulties is it gets better. Now, what is a result of continuously focusing on the positive and being in the present? We have two benefits. The one benefit is the good personal relationship and the communication improves. And the second is which only you will know inside you, which is intrapersonal, which is self-awareness, self-healing, and a sense of well-being. You feel healthy, you feel like doing lots of things. And this is when you focus on love, peace, all the positive emotions I talked about earlier, and your sense of self-worth. You begin to like yourself, you begin to value yourself, you're confident about yourself, and you are operating from your real self-image. One way is to consciously make an attempt to practice creating a positive mindset, because the positive mindset will help you be open, it helps you be appreciated, and it helps you be curious, kind, and real. Barbara Fredrickson, in her studies, has shown that people with positive emotion have more purpose and meaning in their life, more social support. They can ask for help and get help. Are mindful of the present moment. They live in the present and do a lot in the present. They are solution focused. They don't. They know how to handle a problem. They don't call it a problem. They call it an opportunity for finding a way how to handle it better. They are appreciative, encouraging of their own selves and others, and they have good relationships with other people. uh, this video is not working, but this video was showing us when we create a change, we move from the negative to the positive, how we change our thoughts, evolve, how it creates also a change in the brain. Because you are a work in progress, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly changing. The third domain is the social awareness. We live in a society, so we can't escape people. Although today it is a fashion to have gadgets, media replace human beings, but being a social animal, man always needs and wants that connection with other human beings. how do we do this? Is one way when you live in a society is to understand the difficulties that societies and communities face on a daily basis. It also calls for interpersonal skills of empathy, social responsibility to understand others, walk in other people's shoes. Why are they doing what they're doing? What is happening while they're doing? Social responsibilities, how can I give my mind to make the world a better place? Tolerance is how do I accept differences? How do I accept different cultures in a positive way with openness? How do I, building rapport is how do I create a connection and resonate with other people by making a connection, and how my communication attracts positive thoughts and positive feelings rather than negative thoughts. So one way would be uh, developing empathy is basically gaining an understanding of others. It's also thinking about their feelings, is also accepting them. So how can I do this? I can do this by being aware of my own belief patterns. Very often we in India being a very big, because today with the globalized world, we have to be aware of our belief systems about different colors, cultures, Western, Eastern. What are the beliefs that we have? And how we can come back to the human being rather than this culture, that culture, these people, those people. We can come back to the term of how we are human beings. Being a listener, reflecting back, paraphrasing, and sharing your story. Your story is important. Very often, when people tell you the difficulties, if you tell them from your own personal experience, it makes so much more sense. Another way would be taking a short course in listening, because very often we don't have the skills of listening, so that causes problems uh, with communicating and with building a rapport with others. One way before you go into communication would be observe. Observe the tones of voices, the facial expression, how people keep distance, watch how people react to the way you speak or what your language is. Be part of it. The third way would be a part of your community or your neighborhood. Understand the cultural differences. Travel out of your village, state, and country. It will open you up. It will broaden you up. It will give you a different idea of how to deal with people. So once you have seen life and you have seen the world, you'll be much more open and flexible with other people. The fourth domain is relationship management. Learning to develop your skills for reflecting. In relationship is very important. Everybody wants to be listened to. Everybody wants to feel for each other, but how do we, and one way would be how to speak in a positive way and in a firm way. Assertive is positive, firm without causing pain or hurt to anybody. Learning how to handle your problems and your difficulties in a relationship in a peaceful way, and learning how to support and affirm others. The video below is, you can log on to it after the talk. It's a very nice one. In the relationship, the first thing is being kind to yourself. Very often we are mean to ourselves in our thoughts, like the non-stop radio playing. So whatever meanness we do direct to ourselves is usually directed to others. So firstly, be kind to yourself in thoughts, feelings, the way you feel about yourself, and the way you speak about yourself, and the way you treat yourself. So in case you're tired, be kind to yourself in the way you say, okay, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take a 5 minutes a rest. So allowing yourself to understand yourself is kindness to yourself. Relationship with self. Most of the time we are very busy with everything else. We don't have time with ourselves, and actually you miss when you are beginning to get angry. Sit down with yourself for a little while and see. The little attention that you give yourself is enough for you to calm down, because you have given yourself some time. You have related to yourself, and you have created a connection with yourself. Very often, because we of lack of time and the pressure of work, even a 10-minute breathing and 10-minute meeting with yourself helps quite a bit. Now, if you look at our relationships in India, and we have a very beautiful greeting of Namaste, which when we fold our hands and we put close to our heart and we bow down to the next person, it shows us that I bow to you in greeting. I accept you as a divine being. So I, a divine being, bow to you, a divine being. And when you are relating to God, you usually put your folded hands at your forehead and bow to the Supreme Soul, because that is the seat of wisdom and insight. But most of the time in our daily living, our everyday self comes into play. We have to remind ourselves consciously of our real self, which is love and peace. In human relationships on an everyday basis, we tend to want to be in control. I want to feel I am good and you're not so good, or you are good and I'm not so good. But when we work through these things, we are able to come on a I win, you win situation. Another thing which causes difficulties is need for control. We want to have control over everybody because within us we have poor internal control. Internal control is the control over your thoughts and your feelings. The third thing which causes problems in relationships is distrusting yourself, life, and others, and being constantly clingy or needy. And all the opposite would be completely, totally avoiding, being cold and distant, and avoiding relationships. Now, the next three slides are pictures of 10 years old who have gone through a course with me on emotional intelligence, and have, when I gave them this feedback before the program and after the program, then and now, is they tell us how, and you can notice what this child feels when she's able to understand her feelings, how her face is lit up, how she feels so good about herself. She's able to speak up and able to say. Then you have here in relationships with others, the child not understanding the feelings. Once she's able to speak up, understand herself, has already made friends. Here is also a boy who is cold and distant with his pet, but when he is able to tune into himself, is able to create a connection, feels compassion and kindness for his dog. So all of us are social beings, and we need to understand that we need to work on a win-win situation, be solution focused. So one of the ways is to understand and accept the differences between each other. Flexibility is accepting that, okay, all of us are made differently, yet all of us have so much to offer. We can trust each other with their different approaches because we need so many different approaches to survive and thrive. And the more we have differences and the more we have different ideas, the more it is, the richer is the thing. It's just the way, it only requires a skill. A good manager or a good leader knows how to use the best from each person. Now, the openness of accepting the ideas and also accepting the differences in a leader or a teacher can make a great difference to a class, to a to an institution. The need to understand how people think and act and how they work together will go a long way in creating a better work environment, a better school environment, a better family environment. Most of the time in working with people, when I found even when people are sick with different types of illnesses, the main thing when you remind them that they have a purpose, that they have a dharma, that something which they can look forward to is where they can, where They are meant to give back to the world all their talents. They're meant to empower, and they're meant to influence somebody else in their life, or not. It could be somebody in their home, it could be somebody in their neighborhood. It doesn't have to be on a TV screen. But this is something which always gets people, gives people direction for working, and that is their life is important. They are important. That they have a purpose. That their story of what they have has is important and can help somebody else out. Their dreams count. Their voices matter, and they are born to make an impact. So now, so let's So as we are coming towards the end, let's wind up again and recall what we have done, that I am a miracle, I'm a divine being in human form, and I have all the good qualities. I have to remind myself of them continuously. My body is in lack of ease or I'm feeling discomfort, it is because I'm creating negative thoughts. Now, with awareness and understanding of my own negative habits, I consciously commit myself to my positivity, peace, and well being by consciously using the skills I have learned. Mantra or affirmation to remind yourself of your true nature. I am peace. I'm learning how to be this peace. I'm learning how to speak in peace. I'm learning how to share this peace with everyone. I am peace. Yes, I am peace. You can watch these videos on YouTube. Barbara Fredrickson, Positive Emotions Open Your Mind. You have Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. You have also these videos by Richard Boyatzis, which tells you how in communication you can attract either the negative or positive responses. And Martin Seligman is an interesting video too. Some of the books which I have read and gone through and referred to for these programs are really a gold mine. If you love reading, you can borrow them from a library or from a friend. They're very interesting. For workshops, individual family counseling, and 12-day residential courses, you can call me up or you can email me, because we use process work in our work, counseling skills, and some of the programs are with alternative therapies, which uses Jinshinju Shiatsu, so that we can stay healthy and be well. We will be having a course on the 2nd of November, which is Emotions and Health. Those of you who are interested can, it will start at 7:30 in the morning and ends at about 6:30 in the evening. Your valuable feedback will be most appreciated. Thank you for making the time to listen. Thank you to the CII team for assisting me with these technical difficulties and putting me online.